My 26F husband's 26M family keeps referring to me as his best friend. What does this mean? My husband Robbie, 26M, and I, 26F, got married earlier this year. It was a beautiful day and I felt so much love and support from both sides of our family. 2 months after our wedding day, we celebrated my birthday at my in-laws' house. It was nothing major, just a dinner and a night together with me, my husband, his mom, 50SF, dad, 50SM, and sister, 22F. That is the first night I noticed them referring to me as Robbie's best friend. After my birthday dinner, we were all sitting together in the living room, just chatting and having some drinks. That's when my sister-in-law got a phone call from a good friend of hers. When she answered the phone and her friend asked what she was doing, she replied that it was her brother's best friend's birthday. I had never heard anyone refer to me as Robbie's best friend. I am his wife, and before that we were engaged for over 2 years. Hearing my sister-in-law refer to me like that confused me greatly. I always refer to her as my Sil, and I would expect her to do the same. Or maybe even as Robbie's wife, but certainly not best friend. After my sister-in-law hung up her phone, I asked her why she referred to me the way she did. She did not seem at all abashed. She just said, "Well, you are best friends. And that's what mom and dad call you," referring to mother-in-law and Phil. My sister-in-law and I are by no means very close, but we are nice to each other and have never had any fights. We just don't hang out outside of family functions because our personalities are pretty different. She's never made it seem like she was annoyed or mad at me. I decided to let it go that night, even though it weirded me out. But then it all happened again a few days ago, which is why I'm writing this post. My mother-in-law and I both work in the same industry doing similar jobs, but at different companies in the area. Sometimes our companies collaborate when we have clients who switch over. This week we had that happen, and I had to pay a visit to my Mills office to help a client transition. My mother-in-law was in the office, so I stopped by to say hello. While I was there she introduced me to her colleague, and once again I was perplexed by how she did it. She said, "This is my son's best friend." As I was shaking hands with the colleague, I paused and awkwardly said, "I'm his wife." The colleague looked confused, but my mother-in-law continued to smile and didn't address it. Once we were alone I asked my mother-in-law why she referred to me like that. Just like my sister-in-law, she didn't seem to act like it was weird at all, and said the same thing, "Well, you are best friends." The only thing that I can think to explain this is that in my vows to Robbie I promised to continue being his best friend. Nobody acted like this was odd or special, and I feel like it's a pretty common thing to put in vows. So I'm not sure why Robbie's family seems to have clung to it, unless it has nothing to do with everything. I've spoken to Robbie about this too, and he is also perplexed by it. He asked his parents privately about it and they gave him the same answer they've been giving me. It all just feels like some sort of bullying behavior to me, but I've never felt a sense of this from them before. Are they calling me his best friend because they don't like the fact I'm his wife? Or is it some inside joke they've been in on without me? I'm not sure what to do or make of it, especially because the in-laws are acting like it's not an issue when I bring it up. Yes, I am Robbie's best friend, but I'm also his life partner and their Sil. I don't know what to do. Any input or advice would be welcome. Too long did not read. My in-laws keep referring to me as my husband's best friend, but I am his wife and their daughter-in-law. They don't seem to think it's weird at all. Note: the rule filter is forcing me to delete some sentences. If anything is unclear I'll try to clear it up in the comments. How about just being straightforward? Yes, Robbie and I are best friends, but now that we are married I would prefer that you refer to me as his wife as I treasure our relationship. Thank you. My mother-in-law used to call me my husband's friend, too, when we had been engaged on purpose to belittle my importance in his life. Not saying this is what they're playing at, it may be innocent, but it may not. I would sit them down for a dinner, be friendly but firm. You don't appreciate being introduced as your husband's best friend when you are his wife. Whether they are trying to or not, it is disrespectful. If you do this, you need your husband to also speak up about it. Hopefully it can be solved with a face-to-face confrontation. This seems passive-aggressive. Have your husband shut this down. I guess I don't understand. You asked why they were referring to you as the best friend. They said, well, you are his best friend, and then what happened? You just walked away? Because to me that would be the beginning of the conversation, not the end. I think it's good that you said something, but really bizarre that you just let it go when clearly nothing was resolved. It makes it really hard to take this post seriously. I mean, not only did they make themselves look insane, but the fact that you just dropped the conversation when it didn't go anywhere also makes no sense. This is one of those situations where your husband has to forcibly tell your mother. This not only bothers my wife, it bothers me. We may be best friends, but you are going out of your way to not introduce her as my wife. And not only that, my sister is doing the same thing. I don't know why the two of you are doing it, but it stops now. I also want an explanation from the both of you, and until I get the truth, I'll be going low contact with the family. This ends now. Op is my wife. She will be treated with respect by this family or there will be consequences. I'd honestly be petty and feign concern that mother-in-law has dementia next time she pulls this shit. Pull out the concerned eyebrows and a gentle, "Mill, is everything okay? I'm you, faxed." Say this part slowly and while pointing to yourself, Robbie's wife, not his best friend. Are you having trouble remembering things lately? Should we go see the doctor? You could also just mock her and exclusively introduce mother-in-law to everyone as your coworker or a friend of your husband and wait for her to say something. I, M27, overheard my fiancée, F27, saying that she didn't like the ring. How do I tackle this? Hi everyone. Throw away since I don't want this attached to my main. I want to get some outside opinions since my head feels like a boulder right now. I, M27, have been with my now fiancé, F27, for 4 years. Last weekend we went on a camping trip to enjoy the last sun before winter. I had packed some extra stuff and surprised her with a romantic dinner in the woods. Later that night I proposed to her. She was super happy and said yes. I thought everything was great until yesterday when I overheard her talking with someone on the phone about the ring and I decided to listen in. She told whoever it was that she felt sorry for me because she had to pretend to like it. I only heard her half of the conversation, but she also implied that she wanted a diamond. This crushed me. The thing about the ring is that it is set with our birthstones that I faceted myself with the help from a friend, a ruby and a blue sapphire. I thought this was perfect since they are hard enough for everyday use, and even though they represent different months, rubies and sapphires are actually the same material, which I thought was the kind of cheesy romantic thing she would like. It took me months to get them exactly how I wanted. I had to spend so many hours in my friend's workshop while not being gone long enough for her to get suspicious. Not to mention the time my friend spent teaching and helping me. Now all that feels pointless. I just wish I could take the whole proposal back, forget this ever happened and just buy a damn diamond ring. It's not like I'm the one that will wear it. It feels extra shitty since every year I learn something new, like juggling, handstand, welding, etc. I've told her that it was a secret this year, because it was gem cutting. She has never specifically mentioned diamonds. Nor does she have an expensive or flashy taste with other things like clothes or cars. I never even considered she wouldn't like the ring. She asked me if something was wrong today and I just said I was so overwhelmed by the engagement thing. We just laughed about how we won't stress it and don't overdo the wedding planning, etc. My regret is killing me and I dread bringing this up with her. I love her and I'd hate letting her wear a ring she doesn't want, but I can't see how the conversation will ever have a positive outcome if I bring it up. She wears it all the time and seems so happy, but now I know it's an act. Seeing the ring honestly make me feel like shit. Not only because she doesn't want it, but her friends also probably know she doesn't want it. Now I almost wish she'd said no instead. What the hell do I do? It's late here and I need to sleep, but if anyone has any advice I promise to read in the morning. Edit. We have talked rings before. I knew she didn't want yellow gold nor one of those rings where the gem stands up all exposed because they look so fragile. She's faking loving the ring because she loves you. She cares more about you and the upcoming marriage than she does about the ring. That is a good thing. It's unfortunate that this isn't what she wanted, but it's pretty clear that she's still absolutely ecstatic to be marrying you. Would you be open to talking to her about it, and asking her if she'd like to pick out a diamond ring together for her to wear daily? And maybe you could turn the ring you proposed with into a necklace that she can also wear when she wants to? Also, I understand hindsight is 20/20, but this is a clear example of why someone should always know that the person they're proposing to actively wants a non-traditional ring before proposing with one. Dude, you kind of made this about you. Great, you want to learn skills at whatnot. Also kudos on the intent, but it seems like you never had a conversation with her before or got to know what she likes. It kind of is an important thing. Finding out what they like, want or love is a bit of the process. Also, did you even tell her the story behind the ring? It may or may not help, but it could. Did at any point you guys ever sit down and talk about rings and what kind of styles she likes, doesn't like? I feel like that's a necessity before dropping a decent amount of money on a ring. It's something she'll wear for the rest of her life and look at every day, so her preferences should be considered when picking one out. When I proposed I gave her a big cubic zirconia, then we went to the jewelry store together. Not sure why more people don't do this. You put a ton of work into this without confirming first that the ring you were going to make was what you wanted. At no point in your description of the ring do you explain why any of that was significant to her. Moreover, an engagement ring made by an amateur like you is never going to stack up next to a ring made by a professional. You set your sights way too high for your first attempt at ring making. She's the one who is going to wear it forever. She should have had a say in the process. You sit her down, ask her how she feels about the rain, explain your logic and time, and try to compromise with her on either changes or a replacement. An engagement ring shouldn't be an amateur hobby project. Get her a normal one that she likes, and this ring can be a nice gift that you made for her. My 28M boyfriend yelled at me 30F the day of my mother's funeral. Any advice? I 30F and my boyfriend 28M have been together about 4 years, and he has been in another state for the past month for work. He also works nights and I work during the day, so communication in general has been rough. He has been very distant since he has been there working. He knew about my mother's health issues and I tried to keep him updated while he was gone. At times I was overwhelmed and barely talked to anyone. When my mother passed away, he was the first person I told, and then me and my siblings had to go through the process of planning the funeral, which was difficult in itself. He got mad at me for not communicating with him effectively, but I thought he would understand that I was dealing with a lot. I never cried so hard the day my mom passed away, and the only person I wanted there was him. I knew he had to work and he came back home to support me during the funeral. He also mentioned to me how much money he was missing out on by coming to the funeral, which I thought was unnecessary. His mother picked him up because she was closer to the airport and she dropped him off at my house. I was not there because I was getting some last-minute things for the funeral, but he had a key so he was able to get inside. He calls me yelling, asking where I was when I previously told him that I had to pick up a couple things. I got there about 5 minutes after he called me. When I finally got home, he continued to yell at me and I just burst out into tears because I just didn't know what to say or do. I have contemplated breaking up with him because I just felt as though it was unacceptable to yell at someone in such a vulnerable moment. At this point I don't know what to do and wanted some input on this situation. This guy is a boss. He cares more about his money than his girl. He don't even give a flying FK that she lost her mom. She needs to dump him ASAP and grieve with the rest of her family. You are correct. His behavior is inexcusable and unforgivable, but not incomprehensible. This is his gut-level, astoundingly petty reaction to not being the center of attention. Don't let him apologize his way out of this. Do better and protect yourself. This is not forgivable behavior. I'm very sorry about your mom, sending you a big hug. It sounds like he was not very empathetic about the situation and made it about himself and how inconvenient it is for him that your mom passed away. I'm assuming this behavior shows up in other ways in your relationship too. Do you think this behavior is common? Did he at least apologize later or something? Regardless of if it was a one-time thing or a common occurrence, it is a very valid reason to end a relationship. You're in a very hard time in your life and your partner should be the one being there for you and providing emotional support, not expecting everything to be about him. Break up. He's clearly hateful and unworthy. I bet he's shagging someone at his work and is trying to get you to break up with him. I have contemplated breaking up with him because I just felt as though it was unacceptable to yell at someone in such a vulnerable moment. Do break up. He should not be yelling at you, yes, especially at that time. What the fuck is wrong with him? He sounds selfish, all about him and his convenience. You can and will do better once you get rid of him. He does not have your back. Hit me twice. Time to leave? 32M, 30F. Hit me twice. Time to leave? 32M, 30F. I 32M have been dating my girlfriend 30F for 3 years now. Last summer, 2023, when I didn't want to dance with her, we got into a heated argument and, while driving, she hit me 3 times before I stopped her. This one was 100% on her, and it's been on my mind for some time. She's had similar blow-ups in the past and didn't get to the point of violence, but she has a temper. We've been talking about an engagement for over 10 months now, and I've been telling her I want to marry her, be with her the whole time. She's been pressuring me about setting a date, telling her friends and family, all the while I've been feeling a bit pressured into the entire thing. We've looked at rings, and she essentially forced me to ask her dad for her hand and to go buy the physical ring. I've been being pushed around a bit, but it's because I've been telling her I have anxiety about marriage. She thinks I need the push to get over the edge and do it. She gave me an ultimatum of her birthday, and last night we went out to dinner, after which, I didn't propose. I couldn't, something just feels off and I'm not fully there, yet. Earlier in the day, she told me I don't have to do it, and I took that literally. We got into a heated argument, and I told her if we're doing this, I'm doing it on my time. She's walked me into all of the other steps, so I'm going to own this one. Again we got heated, and she kicked me in the crotch and hit me twice, again. I can't help but feel as though me leading her on for 10 months has caused this. I feel so bad for her, and feel like I'm at fault. You should always leave after they hit you. Don't ever give them a chance. She has hit you 2 times too many. It's not your fault, you're not responsible for her behavior. There's no reason why you should stay with someone who is abusive to you. You don't deserve that, and there's no reason to marry someone like that either. Because that sort of abuse almost always escalates over time. It doesn't just stop and it's never a one-off thing. Get out before she traps you in the marriage. Run. Once was time to leave. You've probably been frustrated with her sometimes, too. You didn't hit her. She can be scared or sad or angry and show those emotions. She can't hit people and expect those people to go on liking her. If she claims to love you, she shouldn't be hitting you. Yes, I think you should leave before it gets worse. It will get worse. Hitting is a deal ended. Leave before she does something worse or traps you with a pregnancy. You leave after the first time and don't look back. And there's an additional point. It sounds like you don't want to get married to her, period. You feel pressured into this. You say she's giving you ultimatums. Even if you choose to disregard the violence, which you definitely should not disregard, you aren't ready to get married. Yes, you should have spoken up sooner, but you didn't. It's time to go. Please look at online resources on how to leave safely. And please don't do anything that can result in a pregnancy, because she will try that.